Hello everyone, this is Sydney and I'm coming to you with Cruelest of Hearts, an Eyeless Jack X reader by Vivian Arvigale. We're going to be starting off with chapter 31, All Sheep Must Die. The song that goes with this one is Hollywood Undead, Paradise Lost. You raised your head to meet with a clear sky, which was painted with a majestic purple color, acquiring its luxurious shades by the sun who was diving into the distant horizon, its last rays of light enough to illuminate the small meadow in which you had strangely found yourself. You had no recollection of how on earth did you end up in there, but the surroundings seemed rather familiar, as if you had stayed there many more times than what you could actually remember. The dark forest loomed on the premises of the small clearing, the tall pine trees enveloped long ago by the penetrating darkness which denied your eyes from any trace of any living soul, filling your heart with dread and pure horror that managed to creep its way inside, like the foe who appears like a true friend, only to betray someone the very last moment. Still, something deep inside your soul pacified you by whispering that, as long as you were inside the meadow, you would be safe. And why? Because you weren't alone. Jack was also there with you, in the middle of the vast field which was covered by a thick layer of the bluest anemones you had ever set your eyes upon. The man completely matched with the blue surroundings, as if he was part of them as well. Jack was standing right across from you, his head raised to meet with the sky above him, and his tall posture calm and relaxed for the very first time since you had reunited with him in his afterlife. It was the very same Jack as the one you were living with now, the one that you had simply surrendered yourself into the previous night. His skin was pitch black and his eyes were absent from their sockets, the moment that black goo was cascading his majestic face, making it look like the man was crying black tears, tears of utter sorrow, tears that came in complete contrast with the sincere smile that he had eaten away his beautiful white mouth. Because the man was smiling from the very depths of his heart, and you knew it was a sincere smile. Unwillingly, you feel yourself smile as well on the sight of him, and a happy chuckle erupted from the rock bottom of your chest, ringing around the beautiful meadow like a handful of small bells and making the man avert his gaze to meet with your own loving one. Because right at this moment, the moment in which you simply observed the man standing peacefully, you knew very well that this was the man with which you were madly in love with, even if you tried to deny it in the past with everything you had. In the end, it was the truth that shone like an everlasting diamond in the strong light. Aren't the anemones beautiful tonight, Wyan? Jack's voice reverberated around the meadow, and the man turned his head to meet with your smiling form. They're majestic, you agree. You know, they always reminded me of you in a way, he observes. In his words, you freeze on the spot. What do you mean? The smile of the man only widens, that you have a fleeting life as well, just like Adonis. And soon you are going to die too. You never really realized if it was his ominous-sounding words or the sudden cold that spread over your legs, the thing that caused you to scream your lungs out, but you screamed. Your mouth simply fell open, your lungs filled violently with air, and you needed not the fact that when you looked down you saw two coal-black, enormous hands grabbing you hard by the legs to scream out in total horror. All you knew was that one moment you were screaming at Jack, and the next when your body was catapulted backwards towards the darkness, with your hands shooting up to reach out for the tall man who only continued to smile. And out of pure instinct, your body jolted you awake and your heart burst with all too familiar penetrating pain, which shot up inside of you to reassure your mind that you were actually just lying on the soft mattress of the large bed, carefully tucked under the warm covers. The extreme heat had enveloped your body completely, and your brain needed a few minutes to adjust both to the blinding light of the bright day outside, as well as the fact of where you were and what you were doing. Well, it appeared that you had just made up with Jack, and the both of you celebrated it by sharing a night to be remembered for the days to come. Even if you're unable to decide, once Jack kissed you passionately, every little detail and fear fell into place and apart, making you realize that you were simply unable to think of your life without the man, even if he was currently a completely different one. The base was still the same, and you just couldn't even guarantee that you, yourself, were the same as before. You would simply have to go along with everything, and honestly, it seemed like a small price to pay. And for the first time in a long while, you felt absolutely calm. Wait, what is this smell? Is something burning? Oh my god, something is being set ablaze right as you were lying here on the mattress. Your thoughts were briefly interrupted as you were halfway into stepping down from the bed, a clean sheet covering your exposed body, when you heard the loud curse coming from Jack's voice. Holy mother of fucks. In the flash of a second, you were already at the door, grabbing a strong hold of the doorknob and making it fly open wide in front of you, as your body catapulted itself on the small hallway and into the living room, scanning the whole place up to identify the enemy who had charged inside, only to see a sight never seen before by your eyes. Never even imagined by your wildest fantasies. Jack was standing by the oven and was now taking a few steps back to protect himself as the frying pan that was right in front of him and on the kitchen had enormous and vivid flames coming from within, reaching all the way up to the cooker hood, threatening to set it ablaze as well. For just a few seconds, you simply stood there and watched as your brain was too unable to understand what was going on to analyze the severity of the situation. You didn't know which was worse, Jack trying to cook or the engulfed flames in the pan. But when the second passed, you catapulted yourself towards the kitchen, trying to save the situation with pure determination running through you. Jack, grab the pan's cover right now. You briefly yelled at the surprised man as you grabbed a hold of the pan and removed it from under the cook hood. From where you were standing, you could clearly see the olive oil burning inside the pan, something which only made things worse for the situation. How about we pour some water inside? Jack yelled instead. Are you insane? It will explode, you yell. Jack passed you the lid, and thankfully, the moment you placed it on the torched pan, the flames diminished, until they completely died out, leaving the both of you looking at the cold black pan like it was ready to explode into millions of pieces at any small movement from your behalf. Along with the flames, though, you felt your heart calming down considerably, with the pain subsiding, enabling your lungs to fill with air without any struggle. The first one to break the dead-like silence that had fallen among the both of you was you. What on earth did you try to do, Jack? You ask, averting your gaze to look at the eyeless man who only shrugged in response. Apparently, I tried to make breakfast. My cooking skills did not live up to my expectations at all, though. He confessed evenly, with his face betraying no emotion. Until he turned towards you, and his face lightened up with a huge smirk. How did you sleep? He asked, gazing at you from top to bottom. Realizing that you were still dressed only with a sheet, and probably with your hair disheveled from the pillows in deep sleep, a luxurious blush adorned your face, and you hurried to look away before muttering an okay softly. Without so much as another word that would come out like a shrieking sound, you were sure about that. You walked past Jack quickly to reach the shelter of the bedroom in order to get dressed. The moment the door closed behind you, you heard the man's soft laugh reaching your ears louder than it should have, and you were positively tempted to hit your head against the wall for your naivety. If there was really some kind of danger, Jack would have probably grabbed you the minute shit hit the fan, so your worry about someone finding you was without proof, and the rushing to help out was only met with the man's pleased yet eyeless gaze. Mad with yourself, you rushed to change into a pair of warm clothes, sparing only a brief gaze out the window to meet with the newly fallen snow that had covered everything, cascading the gray skies still. And once you were ready, you let out a deep sigh, and picking up all of your courage, you returned to the living room, ready to face the man. Jack was peacefully sitting on the sofa, remote control in hand, and changing the channels on TV in a desperate attempt to find the news, and he didn't seem to notice you at all up until you carefully plopped yourself next to him on the sofa, being very careful to keep your eyes straight ahead into the cup of hot cocoa that was resting right in front of you. Maybe Jack's attempts to cook breakfast did fail in the worst way possible, but he was still able to correctly make a cup of cocoa. Thankful for his thoughtfulness, you bring the cup on your lips and carefully down a huge gulp of the warm liquid, feeling your insides being instantly warmed up. Have you made up your mind about whether you will accept me or not? Jack's soft voice resonated from beside you, and from the corner of your eye you could see that the man was carefully keeping his gaze nailed on the TV. I believe that the night we spend together serves as enough proof, Jack. You simply shrugged, watching as the man finally turned towards you, worry lacing his majestic features faintly. It is not the same, and you are aware of that. Actions do help clarify things most of the time, but words are needed to be said out loud for the weight of the situation to settle. He commented seriously, his tone making you gulp anxiously. All right, you exclaimed, looking at him dead serious and gazing deep inside his eyeless sockets, no matter how unnerving that was. If you want me to say it out loud, then I will for the sake for both of us. I am aware that things are a lot different now, Jack, and I'm still struggling to come in terms with what you have become. A creature that is beyond any human comprehension abilities and outside of anything logical, as well as a creature that takes lives in order to live. And I am seriously trying to look past it, and frankly, I will keep trying even for the whole eternity, because you are Jack Nichols, and you are my best friend and my only love, and even if things are different now, I know that you are still you inside, and I love you. I love the man that you were, and I'll sure as hell love the man you have become. And love knows no limits. It's only now that I can see that. By the time you finish your little speech, Jack's gentle hands wrap steadily around your own, and the man brings them to his lips for a gentle kiss, so filled with nothing but pure love that manages to make you smile a genuine smile, one that was reverberating from the very depths of your soul. I know that I am no longer the man you knew, but I'm unable to fight who I've become. This is me right now, and from now on, there is no way for things to go back. I know that you belong with your kind, the humans, and that you deserve a normal family and a happy life, but I am selfish enough to keep you here, away from anyone other than me, and I only hope that you will accept me in time, Ryan. His voice was, for the very first time since you had reunited, so filled with emotions, that you felt tears blooming in the corners of your eyes, threatening to spill out and cascade your smiling face. I choose to be with you, Jack. Even with my limited lifespan, I will still choose to be with you. You confess. I will not allow you to die on me, Ryan. Just wait. I will find you a heart that will match perfectly. Tonight I am going to town to look for it, he confessed, leaning in and gracing your lips with a gentle and quick kiss. You'll be leaving again? You ask. Quite taken aback, you just hoped you had a little bit more time tonight to just be together and enjoy one another, not to get down to business immediately. But Jack only shook his head. We need to find you a heart, and I'm not going to stop until I do. I'm not losing you, Ryan, he exclaims. But of course, I have made a few arrangements so that you won't be alone tonight. You did what? We are expecting company that will keep you safe while I'm away. They're about to arrive right about now. The moment the man finishes his sentence with a sly smirk, a soft knock pierces through the silence of the small house, reaching your ears immediately and making you avert your gaze from Jack to the door. Jack stands up immediately and walks over to the door, casually wrapping his gloved hand around the doorknob and turning it. The moment the small door opened, the cheerful face of an extremely young girl that was all too familiar appeared, followed by the cold expression of an older girl that appeared to be frozen in time. Why in? Sally exclaimed happily, and before you even had the chance to stand up and smile at her, she already had shoved herself inside your warm embrace, hugging you with all the power her small body could provide you with. The only thing that you managed to do was let out a small chuckle. Hello again, Sally. I surely missed you, you say, kissing the top of her head. Sally and Halloween will keep you safe for tonight while I'm away, babe. And I'll make sure to be back before dawn and with a matching heart for you this time. Jack drew your attention once again, and once your eyes met with his lean figure, you noticed that he was already wearing his navy blue mask. You watched him as he shoved his scalpel inside his pocket. Frowning lightly, you try not to look too sad about him leaving so soon. You'd really prefer it if the two of you got to spend the night alone once again, but catching up with everything that the other had missed. Don't worry too much about finding me a heart, Jack. I'm content with what I have already, you comment. I made a promise to save you, Ryan, when we were just children, and this is me keeping the promise. In his words, your whole body freezes and your eyes open with surprise. You didn't expect him to remember that part of your childhood, let alone bring it up right now, so you remained speechless to only watch him, as he turned his back and walked out of the house, leaving you alone once again in order to find the only thing that would save you from death's claws. A heart. You had to admit that Sally was a pretty good person to keep you company, having to stay locked up in the small cabin, waiting for the time that Jack would come back, and all at the same time having to deal with your fears that were thrusted upon you as soon as the darkness prevailed outside the windows of that house. Signaling the coming of the deep night was not an easy task. This was why you were so grateful that the little girl was with you. Her upbeat personality and prankster side surely did keep you on edge in a good way, and after a while you found yourself being completely consumed in the tasks you had picked up together. Whether that was chasing one another all around the house, with your loud laughter filling the vast spaces, or when you sat down and chatted away while baking cookies, time seemed to fly past you. You had a pretty good chance to find out how Jack was like before you came along inside his undead life, and what you had heard about the rest of the residents of the hellish mansion were filed away inside your brain in case you needed it in the future, and you wished that you wouldn't. Sally appeared more than eager to talk about pretty much anyone, excluding Sunderman and Halloween for a strange reason that you failed to understand. And you were amazed and taken aback to notice that her stories were catching your attention and engulfed you inside her strange world, making you thirsty about finding out more on how their world worked. Every now and then you were sparing a glance outside the windows, trying to get a glimpse of Jack's return, but the only thing you did see was the red-headed girl going around the house and keeping guard in order to prevent anyone from attacking you. Halloween's presence was hanging heavily in the air outside the house, and you weren't sure if you were feeling protected or threatened by her. She surely weirded you out, though. There was something unnerving in her whole existence, even more unsettling than the one Jack had when you first met him. But you eventually paid it no mind, since you had bigger things to worry about, like finding a good Disney movie to watch with Sally. Sally, you want me to check if there are any cartoons on the TV? There are no Disney movies tonight. You ask loudly, crouching in front of the TV and trying to change the channels, though this constant static made it difficult for you to concentrate. Was there a storm coming? Yes, please, the girly voice responds. Just make sure to properly wash your hands before... The rest of the sentence you were about to pronounce was shortly cut into pieces. Your mouth fell open in surprise, but there was no way for any voice to come out. Why? Because your neck was being pressed together in an iron grip. From one second to the next, the whole happy aura of the house changed to a cold, murderously dangerous one, along with this constant static at the TV. For the strangest of reasons, something had wrapped around your neck so hard that your air pipes were being crushed right inside your neck, and out of pure instinct your hands fly to your neck, dropping everything you had been holding on the floor with a loud bang. Your brain commands you to do anything in your power in order to stop this excruciating feeling, making your mouth fall open in order to breathe in the all too important air as your lungs start informing you that your oxygen was running low. Yet nothing, absolutely nothing had ever prepared you for what you would feel once you clawed on your neck. There was a hand holding your neck in a lethal iron grip. Insanity was the very first thing that escaped from your mind. All switches turned off inside your head, and your hands literally clawed in the hand of the enemy that seemed to have appeared out of literally nowhere. It did not matter at all that your oxygen was starting to run on dangerously low levels. Your nails dug themselves in the soft flesh of the cold hand with all of your might, and your body sifted out of its own volition. In order to locate the enemy and defend your broken self the best you could, only that all the past experiences you had in life, all the logical things you had come across in your lifetime, nothing had ever prepared you for what you would see when you involuntarily turned towards the TV screen. If you were still able to breathe, you would have probably screamed till your soul came literally out of your mouth. If your heart did not stop right then and there, if God hadn't stricken you dead, then you didn't know what would. Because what your eyes fell upon was nothing out of the realm of earth, logic, physics, or anything you had seen. The hand that was still tightening around your neck into a deadly grip was coming straight out of the TV screen. Your brain struggled to find the right thoughts to form, both pressured by the extremely bizarre thing and the lack of oxygen, but it was still working just fine for your survival instincts to kick in. In a desperate attempt to get whatever that thing was to let you go, you turn and start kicking everything in your path, struggling like a real madwoman against it. You were not going to let it get you. You were not going to die here. You were not leaving Jack alone ever again. So you continued to struggle, kicking the things you had to drop, kicking the coffee table until something cold bathed you from the top to bottom. And in the pure shock that penetrated you, you failed to feel the grip loosening around your neck. Neither did you hear the piercing scream that came out of the TV, ringing around the small house like the cry of a banshee. All you felt was the cold liquid dripping from your whole body, and Sally standing right in front of you with an empty water bottle in her fragile hands and her green eyes filled with murderous determination. Apparently, she had bathed you with water, and that was all it took for the thing to let go of you. But once your brain realized you were able to breathe pure air once again, your eyes closed tightly and you fell on the ground, coughing loudly and trying to inhale as much air as you could, feeling your lungs melt inside your chest. And when you were able to open your eyes once again, all you saw was Sally raising her hand. An invisible power came over to you. The moment the little girl pointed her small hand at you, and your body slid across the floor and onto the left with immense speed, making you scream out loud in horror as your hands flew to protect your face since the collision with the sofa was inevitable, only that it never came. The moment you were inches away from the sofa, the heavy piece of furniture was catapulted into the air where it remained, enabling you to slide safely under it and only stopped when you reached the kitchen island. And it wasn't only the sofa. As your eyes adjusted to the scenery around you, your mouth fell open and you realized that every single furniture inside the house was floating in the air, like some invisible force had made them fly, or like some poltergeist was taking over the whole place. You had never seen anything like it before, and once your eyes were content with looking at the grand spectacle, they returned to the figure of the small girl who was now stepping right in the middle of you, in the TV. Her small hand pointing at the furniture like she was their master, and her back turned towards you. "I promised Jack to keep her safe, Ben, so I won't let you touch her," she addressed the TV. And to your complete horror, a chuckle emerged from within, sounding louder than static. And then a hand, maybe the very same one that had grabbed you, reached out of the TV, only that it wasn't alone. At first, it was the hand alone, reaching out of the TV screen with the thin fingers gripping the air, trying to find something to hold on to, but finding nothing at all. And then another hand grabbed the edge of the screen, clawing on it in order to pull whatever was left of the hellish creature out of it. And hellish it was. The next thing you saw was a face of what appeared to once have been a blonde boy, maybe around 13 or 14 years old, with disheveled golden blonde hair. And as your fearful eyes wandered on his face even more, earth was lost under your feet. Where the eyes should be the normal eyes of a human being now rested two black abysses with two red moons decorating the pitch-black surfaces, while bright red blood oozed from them like the black tears Jack had. The malicious grin that had taken over the once childlike face made you scream, and the torn clothes that he wore were nothing but a green elfish attire. The moment the shoulders started coming out of the screen as well, the boy locked its stare with your own, turning his head towards you and tilted his head to the side like it was crooked. And your scream penetrated the silent night. Where in heaven's name had you gotten yourself into? Where on earth was Jack when you needed him the most? And why did creatures like him exist in this world when why on earth couldn't you stop screaming, cradling yourself like a child, wanting to claw out your eyes and heart? Still, when Sally turned her innocent gaze up towards you and spoke, her voice sounded clear and loud even among the whole madness. "Get out of here, Wyan, run!" You did not need another word. Your very own soul takes charge of your body, and just as if you were gazing upon your very own self in a dream, you felt yourself close your mouth, and inside a complete daze, your feet come in contact with the cold floor, before your body is catapulted along with your soul against the front door and towards your only means of salvation. Some of the furniture flies somewhere behind you, and you don't have to spare a single gaze back to know that Sally, the little girl that was a poltergeist, was battling the boy that had come out of the TV. And as for you, you crashed against the door in full speed with a thin piece of wood breaking and enabling you to go out in the chilling air of the night, screaming out for the only person that was close enough to hear you. Halloween! And with your feet making you run as fast as you can, with your heart ready to jump out of your chest, your eyes immediately lock on the red-headed girl who was running towards you as fast as she could, her sledgehammer tightly held inside her left hand and her orange eyes burning like two vivid fires. And right now, she did not scare you at all. Right now, she was the only means you had to get to safety, and honestly, you would take it as it was. Despite all of that, though, you didn't fail to notice that the girl was quite battered as well. The marks of a fierce battle left on her pure white skin, bites, bruises, slashes decorated her hands, torso, and face. Yet no blood was coming out whatsoever. A speck of curiosity flashed inside your mind, but before you were to pose a question, the girl was already grabbing you hard by the arm, and one single gaze around you was enough to answer whatever question you had. There were 4 men standing around the house. Some of them you had seen before, some of them you were seeing for the very first time. Like the man with the white mask and the monochrome clown that had scared you shitless when you first were at the mansion. The clown was standing right next to a rather tall man with blonde hair and a white mask like the ones doctors had in the Middle Ages, and he was smiling the very same deranged smile to you as the clown, a victorious sadistic smile. The other man with the feminine white mask was standing on your left, and as you turned towards him, the only thing you saw was a silver flash. A hand shot up in front of you, and the orange hatchet stopped inches before touching your head and splitting it in half, stopping right in front of your eyes with the silver blade shining threateningly. Halloween let out a deranged, low growl behind you, and as she lowered the hatchet, you saw the boy with orange goggles standing a few meters away from you, his mouth guard in place and his goggles shining a bright orange in the strong silver moonlight. A loud laughter echoed, making you avert your gaze back at the monochrome cloud, only to see his hands being prolonged and inject themselves towards you. Black claws opening to grab you and tear you into pieces immediately. You took in a sharp breath, but the red-headed girl was faster to react next to you. Stepping to the side to get some space, she throws the hatchet against the clown, finding him straight in the middle of his head. You literally saw the blade tear his forehead in half and his head moving backwards, but in front of your taken aback self, the clown laughs even more and removes it. What kind of monsters were these? Follow me, human. An alluring voice sounds, and Halloween grabs your hand once again, the both of you taking off running towards the frozen lake, running with everything you had in you. You try to question her, try to make some reason out of her running towards it, but as the girl sets foot on the solid ice, you obey her completely, and start running with all your might behind her on the ice. It was the only way out of there, and there was no room for hesitation if you wanted to live. The monsters that resided inside the mansion had finally found you, and the worst-case scenario is Jack was far away from you. The ice creaked under your feet, and you couldn't help but throw a gaze over your shoulder towards the shore, staring at the black figures as you distance yourself from them, following the murderous girl who was your only ally for now and that was leading the way onto the thin ice that remained solid under your feet, but for how long? No matter how much your lungs burned you, no matter how much your legs pained you, no matter how much your heart pierced you with nothing but excruciating pain, you followed the girl and kept running under the silver moonlight, seeing the shore of the lake coming in sight in front of you, with black trees towering over it. It was right then that you heard an animalistic growl which made your head turn back and your eyes fixate on a newly appearing creature that was growling like a lion on the shore from which you ran. Whatever it was really huge. Standing so tall, you were able to notice its large size from the very middle of the lake. It had dark gray fur, and on its face were eyes in the size of dinner plates, bloodshot red and fixed on the both with the wild excitement of a true hunter. It had a long, unnatural smile stretching across its face, reminding you of what you had seen in the rest of the monsters when they locked eyes with you. Nearly all the way up to 2 sets of pointed ears on its head. Your brain immediately filed it as something having a somewhat twisted feline, canine anatomy with 8 legs in total, 4 on each side, and it bore a pair of stripes down its 2 very front forelegs. It had 4 sets of scarlet spines along its back that looked something much more than simply menacing and dangerous, and as if all that were enough, it carried a threatening tail that had what appeared to be a fearsome hook shape. All you hear is Halloween cursing loudly in front of you, and the girl turns and walks back with a graceful move, pushing you forward and turning back towards the others. With a sharp move, she draws her sledgehammer, raises it in the air with both hands, and right as the beast screams from the shore and steps on the cold ice, starts running towards you, the both of you. Human, run towards the mountain, and you will find the path towards the city. Do not stop if you don't find Jack. Halloween's voice advised you, with the girl never turning to look at you. And don't look back whatever happens. There was nothing else you could do. Your mortal self was useless in front of their superior powers. Turning, you start running once again at full speed, eyes nailed on the shore, which appeared to be closer than before, and you spare no glance behind you. Not even when you hear Halloween scream maliciously with her voice sounding more like a demon rather than a girl's. Not even when you feel her sledgehammer coming in hard contact with the ice under you and the said ice starts breaking. Not even when you hear the beast crying out loudly, all that was in your mind right at the moment was to get out of the lake and run to Jack before his former comrades got a hold of you. And the ice begins to break all around you, crumbling down and submerging inside the dark waters like a cold kingdom. And you have to watch your step and jump from ice to ice every now and then, trying with everything you had not to fall into the murky waters. One false step and it would surely be the end of you. One false step and you would die. So when you finally reach the shore, taking that single step on the solid ground, you never look back. The forest flies all around you, and the rocks and the steep spots of land pose no threat to you, as your survival instincts and the thought of Jack fills your brain, turning up all the switches that made you who you are, that made you sane. Because what on earth was sane right now in your life? You were running inside an endless black forest trying to get as closer as you can to your possessed lover. With almost an army of monsters hot on your tracks, how on earth were you supposed to even imagine that you would find yourself in this kind of situation when you firstly began your journey of finding him, of finding the love of your life? But even if you could go back, if you could go back to the peaceful days of college life and were offered with a normal year, a normal family, and a normal life, you would still throw all that away just for a few months beside Jack. Beside the only man that showed you what real love can do, that real love can far exceed the boundaries of species, age, and enemies. And it was for that life only that you were now running inside the forest with tears cascading freely from your eyes, and each step taking you closer to him, closer to his protective arms, even if you knew the chances of surviving all this were slim. Because with a single gaze back, you could see the monochrome clown and the goggled man running hot on your tracks, trying to reach you and end your life in the most painful way possible. And yes, your worn-out body had already started to pain you, making it a lot harder for you to keep running, but you kept on running. It was your soul that was moving you. It was your very soul that was seeking for her soulmate, and his protective arms that kept you running. It didn't matter that at some point you saw Jeff appearing out of nowhere and trying to stop the other two. It was already too late for you to stop before you found Jack. Right ahead of you, the forest opened into a large clearing. Without a single thought, you eject yourself out of the forest line, turning your head back to see where the others were. But instead of seeing them follow you into the clearing, the most unexpected thing happened. They stopped. They literally stopped right on the edge of the tree line and stayed there, looking at you as you ran away. And a loud laugh escapes your lips, until you look back in front of you again, and you stop dead on your tracks. You froze right where you were standing, eyes opened wide with surprise and terror, failing to even hear whatever Jeff screamed behind you. There was a monster standing right in front of you just a few meters away, and it was a true demon. "What do we have here?" it muttered, its voice coming straight out of the pits of hell. "A small lamb," it spoke. Daring to gaze upon him, it was quite obvious that the very pits of hell had opened and spat out one of their own demons. As the demon stood right in front of you, you were sure that his size was increasing with each step he took towards you, already surpassing the height of 13 feet. The demon had coal-black skin with red markings running over his chest, hands, and legs. His eyes were pure red, and his mouth was nothing but sharp teeth. He had 2 horns on his head and a pair of demonic wings on his back, while he flexed the claws of his hands with every step he took towards you, never taking his pitiless eyes off from you. The dark aura that surrounded him was sickening, but for the strangest of reasons you couldn't find your feet to run away. Standing like a statue in the middle of the clearing, you could only watch as he was approaching you, unable to do the slightest and bathed in cold sweat. "I see that the wolves are chasing the little sheep. Too bad I'll be the one to end you," he chuckled, the sound reaching deep down to shred your very soul into pieces. When he took the last step in front of you, with you leaning your head back in order to gaze at him better, and with the violent sobs emerging from deep inside your chest, the demon had already reached 32 feet. He was enormous, and as he raised his huge hand, preparing to strike you down, it was only then that you finally realized you were about to die. "All sheep must die," he chuckled triumphantly. "Why, a voice shreds the night in half, a voice all too familiar, which is able to pull you out of your horrified trance and make you turn your head to look at your left, your teary eyes immediately falling on the beloved navy blue mask as a beyond surprised and horrified Jack steps out of the forest line, too taken aback by what was happening right in front of him to be able to react fast for the very first time. "Jack," you murmur, knowing that he could hear you and glad he could do so. "I love you." You never even realized when the hand came down swiping you and hitting you hard. You only heard one thing before everything went black. That is the end of that chapter. Jesus. Or ka-chow. Or I don't even know how to feel. Oh my god. Holy macaroni. That was a lot. That was 30 minutes. I'm pretty solid I stuttered a lot. Holy crap. Oh, that is a lot going on. I swear, if she dies after all this, I'm gonna be so upset. After all this time. After all of this, if she dies, I'm gonna fight somebody. I'm gonna fight somebody. I'm just kidding. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.